Hi and welcome to my back porch. So today I'm doing one of my favorite techniques. I tried a little twist on it because I put alcohol in the colors, and I had it propped up a little lower. I wanted to see what happens if it kind of slid down the canvas in a slower rate than I had done previously. So I'm going to load a dirty cup, but I'm going to pour against the sides to try and keep the colors somewhat separated. And I've got white paint on the canvas already. This is a 16 by 20. Okay, so here I go, tipping the paint on right from the edge, and what I did different was I moved it side to side, but slowly, because this is sped up. And as it got down there near the bottom, I started to stretch it a little bit and move it side to side, and I really wasn't happy with what I was seeing. It was just kind of the colors weren't meshing well, and it just was not having the really beautiful cells and streaky parts that I usually get. So I decided I don't like that slow moving side to side, and I didn't want to give up though. I wanted to still be able to use it, so I thought I would give it a try to just do another cup right on top. So I'm loading that cup, and I'm going to lift the canvas higher, and I'm going to pour it all out, just wiggling back and forth as the paint comes out. And what I like about it is some of the first part kind of stayed on, especially around the outsides, which gave a little bit different look to it. And I really love the way that the wiggly parts of the different colors, I love the way they get spread out when you tip a little bit. So this was a painting over a painting, so I had to go back here and add more white to make sure the edges were really well covered. What I probably needed to have done, because I was putting white over dark, I probably should have painted either a layer of gesso or a layer of white paint on and let it dry before I put the wet paint on, because it just was not covering. And I started to get a little bit of reaction between the edges of I started to get a little bit of fuzziness reactions in the paints on the pictures in the center. Oh, I'm not speaking very well. So I decided I would mix some more white paint and add the alcohol to it and pour it along the edge, trying to facilitate more of that, what is that, kind of a fuzzy or interaction between the paints on the edges. And it really did work. I really got a lot of fuzzy, it's not really fuzzy, frilly, I don't know the word. I did get a lot more though on the edges than I had prior. However, I ended up getting the paint on there really, really thick because of that. Here I am pouring more on again, trying to get all of the white to cover the background. So because the paint was on there really thick, when it dried, I got a lot of cracking. And again, I didn't really want to give up on this, so I bought a cracking medium. And I think that that's what it's called, one-step crackle medium. And I bought that and put that also on the white to try and get more cracks on it. And I can't say that it really made much of a difference. The cracks that were there were pretty good and pretty thick and heavy. And so this painting sat for a long time. This is an old video. This sat for a long time. I just kept walking by it and trying to decide what I could do with it. And what I decided to do is I had read that you could tint your varnish. So I decided to take my this glossy varnish, and I have the Liquitex glossy varnish, and I put a little bit of the transparent umber into it. And I put one coat on, and it really wasn't dark enough. It just barely tinted it, so it was, to me, I didn't get enough color into it. So I did a second coat, and I put twice as much, and it was really the perfect amount. So you'll see later in the pictures it goes from white, and it'll go to this kind of earthy, antique-y kind of old look, and of course it sunk into the cracks a bit and kind of makes them stand out. I guess the surprising part to me was how much putting that tint in the glossy varnish made the other colors and textures really pop out of the painting as well. So I would really recommend that to anybody to, if you have a painting that needs more dimension, try tinting the varnish and see if you can get a little more dimension that way. So here we come to the close-ups. So what I love about this method is that it gives a lot of different textures. There's always the kind of fingering, tree ring pour type fingers in there, and there's always the rivers which have the little cells inside. There's the way that the edges were interacting with the alcohol in the white, and yeah, you get a lot of tiny cells, and sometimes you get some relatively large cells depending on how much you want to stretch it and what your medium makeup is. So I was really happy with the outcome. I'm always happy with these pours, with the outcome. So I've got black, white, transparent umber, a green that I made up. The yellow is the cadmium-free cadmium, and the orange I made up by mixing. So it's not a lot of different colors, but you sure get a lot of texture. And okay, so here's what it looks like after the tint is put on it. And this is in a different lighting, but you can see the feathery parts on the edges really stood out with that varnish over the top. Here again, that right hand side has the varnish. So if you like the video, please hit like, share if you know someone that may like to see it as well. You can send me a comment if you'd like, and subscribe if you haven't. Thank you.